Hey everyone, we're here tonight to talk to Massimo or Max from Confrontational. I'm just gonna. Have I frozen? Yeah, I kind of froze for a second. He's an amazing producer artist who is inspired by 80s like synth horror kind of music. So yeah, I'm really excited to have him on. So I'm just bringing him in now. I've got like a bit of an ethereal lighting situation. Hello.
Hey there.
Are you, you're a little, you're just doing a little buffer, but I can see your face and hear you.
I
Seems
can
like,
see you fine, but I can
oh,
see myself on the screen for some reason.
oh yeah, you will always see you and me together.
I don't see myself though.
Oh, you don't. Okay, yeah, you're kind of frozen. And
Okay,
now everyone's looking at Yoda again. Hang
let me
on.
try and see if I can like start it again, maybe.
Yeah, just hang up and then come back in and see.
I'm gonna be right back. Thank you, Renee.
Okay. No worries. Sorry guys. Yesterday was a hectic day for internet troubles. So yeah, hopefully tonight it's a bit easier. Hopefully. Um, and if anyone has any questions or anything they want me to ask, yeah, just use the box down the bottom with the question mark. Um, that will make it heaps easier for me to see them because otherwise everything's just scrolling. Okay, try them again. And we've got some good hair going on today too.
I got you now. I'm
Hey,
still popping up on the screen for some reason, but it's totally fine. I don't care.
it's okay. I can see you, but you just kind of weird buffering.
Yeah, I guess,
You're like
we're in Sardinia.
frozen.
I see. Maybe it's something to do with a connection. I'm not totally sure about that, but you can hear my voice fine, right?
Yeah, yeah, can hear you totally fine. Yep.
But the screen is messed up, I guess.
The screen is just your face frozen in like
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Oh my
It's not
gosh.
a it's not a really bad face, so it's not too bad. It's not like you're making a horrible face already or anything like that. So, I was just gonna say, if you like, I can try I'll try and connect to a different internet on my side and see if that makes any difference. Is that cool?
Something is up with
You
the.
fine? Yep.
Okay.
But now you've gone to black.
It's
Now
it's
you now
weird.
you don't have a face.
It's weird. What do you think I should do? Maybe if I start the whole app again, maybe.
Yeah, just I've just changed my internet so that it's on a stronger thing. So maybe if you just wanna yeah, just hang up again and go out and come back in
Let me
maybe.
try that up once more. Sorry about this. I'm
That's okay.
gonna be right back.
No worries. Okay. It's not a super big city, etc. So yeah, it's not as high tech as we are over here. Um, oh hey Gareth, can see you. Um, yeah, so we'll just give him a couple of seconds. Unfortunately, there we go. Looks like we might have some liftoff. Yay, there's a face. But yeah, it looks like we're going to be stuck with just a face. So that's all right. Face and
Wow,
audio.
this is really insane. I'm not sure why this is happening, and I'm so sorry. I'm gonna
Oh, don't
try
worry.
and see if I set up like I have another phone. I'm not sure if this is the reason why the thing is lagging so much,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm gonna try and see if that thing works, and
Hmm.
and maybe hopefully that thing is gonna work. Wow, I'm sorry about it.
Oh,
How
don't
have you
worry
been?
about it. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. We just went into lockdown again. So we've got 6 weeks of
Right,
lockdown now.
I heard
So,
about that. How has
mm,
it been since it began, the whole thing?
well, this new lockdown or the from the start?
Well, actually, from the start, I'm curious about
Um,
that.
from the start, like it was, I don't know, our rules were really strict and like I think we reacted really well. And we didn't have as many cases as anyone else around the world.
Right,
So we jumped on it real quick. And majority of our cases came from people coming back from holidays or work over in Asian regions or people coming back from a cruise. That was what started it. So we were a little bit slower to get it than everywhere else. Um, yeah, and then we just had lots of lockdown and stuff, and so we were doing really well. Like New Zealand's got zero cases, and most of the other states are almost down to zero. Um,
and
but
why
yeah,
did it have to come back to a lockdown again? What happened?
because they reduced some restrictions, and of course, um, everyone just took that as a sign that, yay, we can just do whatever we want. And so people stopped
Right,
wearing social distancing
right.
and masks and, going to cafes and stuff and all that kind of thing. Um, so, yeah.
It's insane
Um,
how everything,
and there
it
was a
seems
few
like the whole
different
situation.
outbreaks.
Right. It seems like the whole situation is very volatile. Like everything could change from an hour to the other, and I guess it's all over the place like that, really.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the same in I was just talking to my friend in Colorado last night and she was like her state's fine, but like LA's locking down again. Florida's going to lock down and they're bringing in mandatory mask rules in most
That
of
does make
like
sense, though, right? The masks, they
mm,
should be like something that makes sense for pretty much everybody out there, right?
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think we should have it. I think we should have it here in Australia, but I don't know why people are so resistant. Um, there's certain like I know this in America. There's certain stores where it's
it's
no
mandatory.
mask. Yeah, it's like no mask, no entry. And
Right.
I've heard that the Apple store here in Australia has that policy, but yeah, none of the other stores do. So yeah, you can social distance and sanitize and wash your hands and be as hygienic as possible and wear a mask, but you're
Yeah.
still surrounded by people who aren't. So yeah, at the moment, yeah, like it just went into effect midnight last night. So yeah, we're supposed to just stay home and only leave the house to go to get groceries or doctor or the chemist. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So
Like it was
yeah.
around here when it first started out, which is, you know, it's over here now for the
Hmm.
moment, but it's been pretty intense for 2 months straight when it started out around early March,
Yeah, yeah.
and
What is it? What was it like in Sardinia? Because it's like
so it's
it's a
interesting
different whole place.
because yeah, it's pretty interesting because it's an island that's separate from the mainland, and
Mm.
it's actually a pretty big chunk of place, but there's only 1,600,000 people on the island,
That's
and
still quite a few. It's not as
yeah,
small as
but
I thought it was. I thought it was a bit smaller, but
right, it's actually I guess the second largest Italian island, but it's actually pretty wide, and we have very little density in terms of population. So it's really the people around
so
here, they're really it's very sparse.
So there's like more space, but less.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
in
spread
a
out.
sort of a way, we're kind of already in a sort of, social distancing kind of thing,
Yeah,
which is why luckily Sardinia has had such few cases actually. But
yeah,
the interesting part about that is that we don't have a lot of ICU equipment on the island because it's been set up, I guess all in all, we have less than 40 ICU ventilator ready units. So when everything first started out, it was very bizarre and very tense because those places got filled up rather quickly. And
yeah,
so everyone was freaking out. It was really
yeah. I
bizarre.
bet. Yeah, can
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah, yeah. And
It's
also,
crazy.
it being separate from the rest of the country, we had to shut down flights and everything for a long
Yeah,
time. But really, that means it's just more isolated than ever,
yeah,
and you could feel that. It was actually those 2 months have been pretty intense around here.
yeah. Yeah, you're not allowed to fly or going to state here, and now that we're in second lockdown, our specific state isn't allowed to do anything. So yeah, we're like kind of
Right.
going back to the beginning of isolation. You know what I mean?
But is it going to be for like 6 weeks, you mentioned?
Yeah, 6 weeks. Yeah,
So that's 1 month and a half.
yeah, yeah. So
And
it's a bit of a
it's like winter time around there right now?
yeah. It's winter. Yeah, so it's actually kind of to. I mean, I feel worse for my American friends who are in the middle of amazing summer, and
Right.
they can't most well, the ones who are doing the right thing and not like, going and doing all this stuff at the beaches and going
Yeah.
out and stuff. So here it's
Yeah.
kind of like it's okay because it's not that great of weather anyway. It's starting to get real wintry, so you can just stay home and listen to
People are just
music,
gonna stay in anyway.
yeah, and get drunk and like watch movies and have whatever. Yeah, it's just a
Yeah,
shame you
yeah,
can't.
no.
It's just a shame that the second lockdown, there's no visitors, so it's just you and your housemates hanging,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah. But
or
at the
yourself if you
same
live
time,
alone.
yeah, but at the same time, I feel like that should be pretty much the spirit of, try to take it in stride and do the least you can do, which is like,
Yeah,
take
I'll tell.
take
I've been taking plenty of days of nothing. Let me tell you,
Yeah, it
lots of
does make
like,
sense, because in the end, what can you do? It doesn't really leave you with a lot of options about that.
yeah, yeah. And at the beginning, I think everyone reacted really negatively, and everyone was really depressed and anxious and stressed. And
Yeah,
but I think people are starting to like chill a bit more about it and be like, you know what, this is out of our hands. Like if you don't have to go to work, like, or you've lost your job and you're getting government money, it's like, well,
yeah.
just hang out, catch up on stuff, and do whatever. You know what I mean? Try and make the best of it before you do have to go back to work, or you do get a job and you're not going to have free time again. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's,
Yeah,
I guess, a lot of the reason why, at least around here, people freaked out so much was mostly because of the way the news reached population, and everybody just had no idea what was happening, what was
yeah,
actually
yeah,
happening.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I guess
Especially,
that's
I guess, being
something
on
that
the
still,
island.
yeah. Well, the whole of Italy was, I'm not sure if you heard about this, but when the first news broke out around like late February,
Hmm.
um, they really had no clear idea how transmission of the virus was happening. And so a lot of people that live in northern Italy, but they're actually from the rest of Italy, like
Mm.
northern Italy is like the part where most people get to find a job that makes more
Yeah,
money
yeah.
usually, and that makes makes for a nice kind of lifestyle. And uh, just I guess like maybe 500,000 people try to leave those regions.
Oh my
And
God. Yeah.
there were these images coming from the train stations that were like assaulted by this storm of people that were trying to just get the hell out of there and go back to their families. And when
Yeah,
these
yeah.
images reached everybody, it was like, okay, the world is ending. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's just been a crazy time. But I mean, even so, like, you just released that that new single last month. Um
Yeah, yeah,
which I
temptation.
thought was which I thought was cool because um I was trying to think I think the one that I was listening to the most was um I'm just trying to see if I can find it. The one
Black
that's like, yeah, Black Glasses. Yeah,
Glasses.
the Dario Argento and Asia Argento one.
Thing. Yeah, because
Yeah, yeah.
I think you probably know about this. They have a new movie that's supposed to be starting to shoot this year. At least it
Hmm.
was before the virus hit.
Yeah, yeah.
And just two words, black glasses, and then they had a very short description of the what the movie was going to be about, which is like a very succinct description of like it's about a woman in danger and a little girl, and so this thing set my fantasy in motion. And I said, "What is this movie going to sound like?" And I just decided to give it a try.
Yeah, yeah. And did you get a response back from
Well,
Dario?
as a matter of fact, I actually haven't really tried to be pushy all the way. You know that's kind of
Yeah,
weird sometimes
yeah,
because
yeah.
I tried to get in touch with the people that inspire me. But I guess I tagged both of their instas, and Asia, she liked the picture and she commented on the she left a little comment on the first time I set the song out there.
Hmm.
So I guess she's sort of aware of it. What I would really like to do is, maybe send a proper message and be like, okay, I know you have this movie, but it's always tricky, because
Yeah,
you don't really want
yeah,
to. I mean, I'm in the end, I'm just a fan,
yeah,
and
yeah. So,
just some.
are they going to use it? Is that
I have no
the
clue, Renee. I just wanted to make this thing and release it out there and just let it be known that this thing is inspired by their work.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I mean,
and
I absolutely love Dario Argento, you already
he's
know
amazing.
that. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, he's a horror genius, and in terms of like, I mean, Italian horror in general is completely different to any other horror, but Dario is in his own league when it comes to,
it's
you
it's
know.
very very different from the usual way things have been done. I mean, even if you think of like stuff like Deep Red,
Mm,
uh, but even those first movies he did, which by the way were scored by Ennio Morricone, which is amazing.
hmm.
Um, he had this thing where he was still playing by the Giallo rules, the
Yeah,
thriller
yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
he would do totally different stuff. Like I guess he was one of the very first people in Italy to have the killer as a woman, and I thought it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
just instantly reversing roles in the early 70s. That's awesome.
And he's so inventive with kill
Yeah.
scenes.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God. I
yeah.
was talking to a friend and I was like, oh, and they were saying, how there's I forget what the trilogy is, but I'd seen the
The
most recent one that
the
they've done. There's one more to go. So Mother of Tears.
right, right. Yeah.
Right. And there is a scene in there that I was just like, I have never, ever in a film seen that kind of violence in my life. It was like some giant poker, and like it was just, and it was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stab you like right in your vagina, and it's gonna come right out and into your. I was like,
Oh.
what the fuck? Like it was way intense, like
Yeah.
like super intense, and
Yeah.
like and there's always these like weird layers underneath all of his films, like and like there's always other kind of stuff happening, and then
Other themes in the like
yeah.
subplot and stuff that's
Hmm.
happening, like kind
As
of outside
well.
the script.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like with everybody I know, pretty much is obsessed with, with Suspiria. Obviously, the only
That's
Suspiria there is the Dario Argento one.
of course, of
Um,
course.
um, and and I've got the Goblin, the soundtrack on vinyl, and I mean
Amazing,
that
amazing.
that that soundtrack is phenomenal, but also that like just that film, the colors, the sets,
It's like a
the
dream. It's like a
it's
fever dream.
amazing. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
incredible. And then even when you look at other stuff like Tenebrae and everything like that, like and of course all of those early films, which is really like quite funny, is their he kills his wife and daughter pretty much, or his
Yeah,
daughter's like a
yeah.
victim pretty much, in all the
All the
early ones.
time. Yeah, 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 yeah. Which
Yeah.
is, I think about what it must have been like growing up in that kind of environment for Asia, that must have
Yeah, well,
been,
I've read some interviews with her where she said like they have a really strange relationship. She was like 12 and 11, 12 and 13, and she was like in these films like being
covered in blood and just filled with corpses and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, and of course, yeah, and the wife was just getting killed straight away, like straight off
yeah,
the bat, like just
yeah,
like you
yeah,
come in my film, I knew you're dead. So
yeah.
yeah, it's insane. So yeah, absolutely, yeah, huge fan of that. And then, I think probably through Goblin's work and John Carpenter's, and you know um kind of a mixture of all different like obscure horror soundtracks is how I think I eventually came across you, and also because I fell in love.
Wow.
I think I fell in love with the artwork for the A Dance of Shadows in
Yeah,
2015.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. That's
I
the
I
first.
I love that artwork, and I remembered it so distinctly, and I was like, I'm gonna like this. I just know I know I am because of the art. Like I was like, this is gonna be rad. I know it, and
Wow.
and then and then of course I kept listening and following each time you released something, um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's like you were doing it before. Yes, if someone just mentioned Inferno, yes, Inferno as well. Um, is another great Dario film.
The
Um,
movie.
yeah, and oh God, there's a bazillion we could just go on about, but
I
the
remember when Kingdom of Night came out, which is the second one, you
yes,
actually went on and posted Crimson Curtains, which is the track that we did with
yes,
Cody Carpenter.
Cody,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember you liking that one, the instrumental one.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's
Yeah.
like because the I love that sound. Look, because I'm such a huge fan, and I grew up watching like early 80s horror and that
Same.
kind of. So my age didn't really matter. My dad just let me watch it. I just watched it with him, when he was watching it, and I kind of and if something was a bit too crazy, he would be like, put your hands over your eyes or like
And would
whatever.
you do that? Would you do that?
Oh, I'd always do the eye with the hole. You know what I mean? Like I'm not looking,
Yes,
but yeah, I'm looking. And then
perfectly know
and
what you mean.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, like I mean, he was always pretty good like that because he was like, oh, it's not real. It's just yeah. Whereas I think my mother didn't like it so much, but yeah, my dad was like, ah, you know, don't worry about it, type thing. Like, from an early age, like,
how
I was,
young were you? How young were you?
oh God, I reckon I saw like some horror by the time, at least like 9 or 10. Like,
Right, right.
yeah, because I was watching, and at that age, I was reading Stephen King at that age. So,
That's awesome. That's
because my
awesome.
because my dad's a huge Stephen King like reader. So
What was
basically,
your first King? What was your first King book? I'm curious.
Pet Cemetery was the first one.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that was the very first one that I read, and then I think it was Carrie, and then Christine. But
Wow.
I distinctly remember watching Christine with my dad, like, and the bit where well, I've seen every film adaptation to every Stephen King book
Really?
that's ever been made. I've gone out of my way to find every single one, no matter how bad they are. Um,
It's incredible because I'm a huge King fan. I have all of his books, and
yeah,
really, I would say that his influence is like 50% of why I do music.
yeah. Well,
Because
he's my
he's a
hero. He's
big,
really
he's a
my hero. Like he's the one person I would like to interview so badly that
that's
like
something you should do.
oh, it's so hard to get in touch with him. Like it's impossible. There's a fort around him. Like
I
he's
I can only imagine
because
that that makes sense.
he has like crazy fans and people that contact him
Yeah,
all the time. But I
yeah.
what I but in Maine where he lives, he's got really cool music taste. I don't know if you know that. And he
He's
has
got a radio station.
radio show, yeah, and it's rock and roll radio show, but just Stephen
It's
King,
amazing.
yeah, it's so
He's
cool.
got Ellie Cooper on the show too sometimes, and
Oh,
they have
that's so
this
cool.
thing. He really loves music, and it shows through each line in the books he creates. It's really something that he loves, and he loves dancing.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it comes across as a really true passion of his, which is fantastic. Really, it's rhythm. It's how music comes up, and
And
that kind of
it's
love really shows.
yeah, but like you were saying, music is so informed in horror movies. Like, I guess in
Absolutely.
in a lot of other films, it's more about sounds and scan. It's only in the last, I don't know, probably under like 6, 7 years where it's been like movies are having more soundtracks that are like by one person and they're
Right.
or most of it's instrumental, whereas like horror has from day one, horror has always had music very ingrained
Very
in it.
intense. Yeah.
mm, and like just and that ability to make you feel so many crazy different emotions and like it's
Yeah, yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Like if you turn the lights down low, and like put some candles on or something and put on Suspiria, you're like, maybe I'll turn it off in a little bit because I'm gonna get dead. You know what I mean? I'm gonna die.
Exactly, exactly. But I think that's really it speaks to the power of really movies and what they can do for
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
just a completely different environment, just with sounds and vision, and that's really some sort of crazy thing if you really think about it. And
Yeah,
I It
it really is.
really, I gotta say that the way horror works, just because I really do see it as something that is made to confront people in a way, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a big part of why I came up with the name I ended up with eventually. Because
yeah.
you know
Because
when you read about the works of Carpenter and Romero, and Friedkin or Lynch. Confrontational is a term that gets used a lot because, you know,
Yeah.
they're raw and they're not afraid to show things,
Yeah,
to
no.
tell their own version of reality, I guess. And that's really something that inspires me.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, like, well, obviously you were into Stephen King, but like growing up, you know, what were some of your favorite kind of films and like the ones that where you, I guess you kind of found your path towards, you know, going towards making this music, you know, because
Yeah,
it is very much all like you know, it's an ode to 80s horror synth, you know,
absolutely.
so it's like, you
Absolutely.
know,
I started out. So the first thing is I'm an only child, so I grew up by myself in a lot of, you know, lonely evenings where the VCR was my best friend.
yeah,
So I really grew up on a diet of movies, and actually some of the first sounds that I can remember are, you know, soundtracks to
yeah,
movies. Um, One of the very first sounds I remember is the soundtrack to Deep Red by Goblin,
yes,
and
yeah. I
and
mean,
that's really,
anything Goblin does is just
they're insane. They're really insane, and Claudio Simonetti is a huge influence in me personally. He's
mm,
really everything he does. Because I'm not sure if you know about this, but parallel to his activity as a motion picture a soundtrack author, he was also doing disco stuff.
yeah. I do know that.
And
So yeah,
he had this studio, his own studio, where he would do a lot of recordings for even other artists. And I think I really love Claudio for what he does, because in a way he's summing up the essence of Italian music in a way, in the sense that
yeah,
he's able to, you know, he's able to go for the craziest prog parts, but he's got this thing where he knows what's going to get bodies moving. And
yeah. Italy has a real love for like d dance music,
yes,
like
yes, having people to
sweaty,
react.
yeah, like sweaty dance music, and you know, like yeah,
Yeah.
very much
And
so.
so the way it was like I was into all this crazy things that I would get my hands on growing up, but it wasn't until I was 12 that I actually got to sit down and watch a portion of my very first horror movie, which was Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
And I've been fascinated with the movies before, but I was scared. I was really scared growing up. And
Well,
so,
that's the thing. When I was growing up, I was scared too, and that's a part of the, I think, the part of the love and the thrill of it,
exactly,
because it takes you to another place,
you're
and
drawn to it, and
yeah,
yet you don't really know what's going to happen.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
And that's really fascinating. So I guess I was like, yeah, 12. I got to see a part of this. I was super freaked out, and then there's this thing. I got really into horror comic books around,
hmm
I want to say, 10,
hmm
especially this character that's called Dylan Dog. Have you ever heard of him?
I'm not, no, I don't think so.
It's like this comic book that started out in Italy in 1986, and
hmm
it was a huge phenomenon back in the days around here, because it just exposed so many young people to horror as a whole, and it was done in a pretty modern way. Around the time nothing like that was really published in Italy, so
Yeah,
it was really modern, and it had a real connection with the horror community, and the whole the whole vibe was to really pay tribute and homage to what the horror genre has done. And so you would get like the very first comic book that they put out. It's called Dawn of the Living Dead in Italian, which is
Yeah.
tribute to really Romero is a huge influence for the author of this thing. And to have something
Yeah.
about something like that as a comic book, like EC Comics way back in the 50s, that those influenced Carpenter and Romero as well as King.
Yeah.
It was sort of the same thing like 30 years later in Italy. And so that's how I started to be involved with the whole thriller thing. And then when I was 14, for my birthday, my schoolmates got me a copy of The Stand by Stephen King.
Oh my God. The
And that
Stand
was
is actually one of my favorite, the book or the film did you get given?
the book, of course,
Yeah,
the book.
because the book is phenomenal, but even the film, it is still phenomenal, even though it's aged badly. It is still,
Yeah.
I rewatch it at least twice a year.
Because it has this kind of early 90s, late 80s kind of feel to it,
Yes.
and then you have some amazing actors in there. There's Ed Harris, which is awesome.
Yeah, there's actually a ton of actors in it.
There's a lot of,
Rob Lowe, who's playing
yeah,
like he's really young at the time. Like
yeah.
there's a ton of actors that were really young at the time that like were in it. But yeah, The Stand was always one of my favorite because it was like toying with like,
Yeah, me too. It was,
apocalyptic type stuff and like the devil and all that kind of stuff. And so I'd
it
always,
changed me. It changed me entirely. I was this guy before reading it, and then I was like, I want more. But this guy is a genius. I need to know everything this guy has done. And also the way he would talk about music in the book, it felt to me like, guitar plays such a huge part in the story.
yeah,
And I didn't play guitar at the time. But really, when I was 14, everything started just really snowballing. I got this book, and then Romero is mentioned heavily in the book itself. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's time to step up. So I eventually found a VHS copy. This was back in 1996.
yeah,
I found a battered copy of Dawn of the Dead, and I watched it by myself for the first time. And that was like, okay, here we go.
yeah.
That
I've watched
movie,
all of them so many times, the Romeros.
yeah. To me, it's like The Stand by Stephen King and Dawn of the Dead by Romero, and that's really my introduction to real horror. And then right after that, I fell in love with Romero. I wanted to be him growing up. He was such an inspiration because he was like, I'm gonna do my movies. I don't have to go to Hollywood. I don't have to go anywhere. I'm just gonna be myself and do it my own way.
Yeah.
And then just when I thought there could be anything crazier than what Romero had done, I found out about Assault on Precinct 13 by Carpenter.
Yes.
And that freaked me out because I thought it was insane, but then credits roll and it's like, this guy has done the movie and the music. What the hell?
Yeah. And like,
So,
and what about like, The Thing?
oh, you're cutting off, Renee. Sorry.
Oh,
Can you
sorry.
say
I
it
was
again?
saying The Thing.
Yeah. The Thing is, I have like top 3 films. I guess it's like altogether The Thing, Mulholland Drive, and probably Day of the Dead, which is the third in years. I really like that one.
Because I rewatched The Thing recently, and I watched the remake, and it was average. Nothing can
It
compare.
wasn't bad, but The Thing is like this masterpiece.
The original is just, you can't beat it, and but like the effects at that time, it's still so like gross.
You
Like,
know, Rob Bottin. You know, Rob Bottin got
yeah,
hospitalized after that movie for like a month because he was exhausted doing everything on set.
yeah,
And the level of that stuff, the
mm,
precision, just
yeah. Like
gruesome.
all the yeah, like all when like when the people would split in two and have all these heads and like it was just like it. When I rewatched it, I was like, it's so gruesome and amazing for the time it was made, for the
It's
effects.
so incredibly intense, but at the same time, it's done in such a way that you're drawn to it, and you just want to see what's going on. It's done
Yeah,
amazingly.
yeah.
You want to see what's happening to these people out there. It puts you in a mood. It's really crazy. I love that movie.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like when you were saying about Romero, like the first film that I watched of Romero's was Night of the Living Dead. And so
Amazing.
for me, I always remember that line and it's been sampled and used by so
Which
many
one is it?
musicians. The
Which
line
one is it?
the one where it's like, Barbara, they're coming
They're
to get
coming to
you,
get you.
Barbara. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like it's been sampled by a billion people, but it's so creepy. That actor is a creep. And like
That act
it,
was amazing. If you think about the way they did that, they were
mm,
not even, most of them were not professional actors.
no, no. And they
That's,
still managed to make it actually scary. Like, the
yes,
like so in the
yes,
you watch black and white, those like kind of really old horror films, and if
yes.
you watch them at night, you fucking get scared because there's some weird eeriness about them, that's like kind of different to watching a modern horror film,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah. A
So
completely different, and really, Night of the Living Dead was like the dividing line that's like before and after Night of the Living Dead. It was
yeah,
68, and he changed, he subverts all the rules again. He's one of those
again.
guys that changed it around.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, well, you can say 100%. He invented the zombie genre.
Yeah,
We
as
wouldn't,
the way
I
we know
mean,
it, right? He
mm,
completely came up with the whole thing. The way it
yeah.
moves, the way it looks, the way it works. Eating human flesh. When they first came up with that script, everybody thought it was crazy. But
Yeah,
what
and
a
look at it. Look now. It's like now there's just all these zombie shows, all these like never-ending zombie films. Like people are just trying to capture it like constantly,
yeah,
and I mean, so it's like, yeah, he's had such a lasting, you know,
legacy.
legacy in that sense. Um, but I was going to go back and say there is a
Yeah.
podcast you should look up, and it's Stephen King talking about The Stand because he worked on that with I think Mike Garris, who does like the
Yes.
horror,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, and they talk about this. They actually talk about The Stand, and it's amazing. So you should definitely look that up. I think it's on
I'm
Mike
gonna look it
Garrett.
up.
I think it's on Mike Garris's podcast, and
Yes.
yeah, he yeah has a whole long like podcast with Stephen talking about mostly The Stand, and then a little bit about when they remade The Shining. So
Right.
yeah,
Because
because
they did one, or no? What is it like that?
what was that? Sorry.
I think they did a series for it
Yes,
together.
because yeah. So they did a mini series of two-part mini series called The Shining, which
Right.
was matched the book because the film that Kubrick did is
Yeah. Yeah.
not
I
true to the
know.
book, not true to the
I
book.
know. I know that Steven is like, I don't know.
Yeah, he used to
Yeah, I think he's.
he used to be very very militantly. I hate that film. Like, but
Yeah. Yeah. Because
he's actually sort of chilled out a bit about it now. Like when that
he
the
was really,
si-
he was really anti the fact that you could see that the moment you get to see Jack Nicholson, he says you can see from the get go that he's insane
yeah,
or that something
exactly,
is up with him.
exactly. And it's not meant to be that way.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a an everyday dude with an everyday family, and you can
Yes.
even the casting, in The Shining, like having Shelley Duvall, like she already looks nuts, like
Yes.
so it's like they already
She's
look.
such an
She's
amazing actress. She's
she
insane.
she was perfect for that role, but
Perfect. Yeah.
but when you go back, obviously, to the source material, she was supposed to be someone who was just an average, normal white, like, and he made a really, I guess Kubrick made a very deliberate choice to pick people that he looked crazy and like had like a look about them that would, you know, rather than
Yeah. Yeah.
the book is more about that transformation from normal to crazy, not sort of already
Exactly.
not already
Exactly.
not already crazy. You know what I mean? Kind of, and then
Yes. Yeah.
but
Yeah. 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 No.
but in recent years, yeah, he's kind of toned down a bit, especially with the release of what was it, Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
So
Did you like the book?
yeah, I liked his book of it, but the film, he said, Stephen King said the film is like, it's essentially following on, the film is following on from Kubrick's Shining. Sorry, are you there? You just lagged out. No, I was just saying,
Could you
yeah,
say
like
like those last words again? Sorry.
yeah, I was just saying, the film Doctor Sleep followed the Kubrick Shining.
Right. How can you follow that up?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
so that's sort of how it, yeah, so that's how it kind of made him, I think, a little chilled out a bit more about Kubrick Shining, because they made him involved in making the Doctor Sleep film.
Yes.
They actually got him to work with them on that so that he could kind of, I guess, fill in some parts that, but he said essentially it's the perfect companion or sequel to Kubrick Shining, not necessarily mine. You know what I mean?
I
So
didn't I didn't get to see it yet, so I kind of, I saw the trailer and I was like, I'm not sure,
it's not
you
like
know.
it's not horror. It's more it's a kind of mystical and fantasy sort of.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
that's cool though.
yeah. So it's like a different vibe. It's not, you're not if, you're not going to go into it thinking like someone's going to come through the
I'm
door
gonna
with an
get scared.
axe or
Right.
anything like
Which is
that. Like
it's a little
because
unfortunate because, the first one sets the bar so high
yeah,
that
exactly. So I think a lot of people didn't like it. It didn't get that great a review, but there's like a huge theory, and Stevens talked about that before, about how The Shining is present in quite a lot of his films, like
well,
the
yeah.
ability of The Shining,
Yeah,
like,
if
and
you
this,
think about it, and he's sort of open about the way that his whole universe, the all of his books are happening in the same universe. That's the way he puts it out.
yeah,
And
yeah, because they're always
you know
almost in
the
Maine,
Dark
pretty
Tower
much.
series. Yeah, right, right. And everything seems to be very coherent if you really think about the way he gets to describe you these characters. And if you really think about it, The Shining is this thing where it's like, we can. It's like, I know it's an ability that he describes it at a certain way, but at the same time, it makes me think like he's basically sort of talking about the intrinsical uh, good nature that we
Mm,
all have, that we can be enlightened, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
but it takes, you have to be nice, basically, pretty much.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
exactly.
should be nice. I was thinking about it the other day.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. I rewatched the remakes of it a couple of weeks ago.
What did you think about the remakes?
I actually, you know what? I actually think that I saw them both at the cinema when they came out, and I actually thought that they did a brilliant job. like the casting was great, and I thought that they did a really good job of keeping that like childlike adventure, like
Yeah.
the Goonies type thing, like
Yes, yes, yes.
that was in the originals, like, and I didn't feel like they strayed too far from the originals. It was more like here's a bit of an update. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they updated and made it refreshed. And I think they gave some of the characters a little bit more multi dimensions, like
Yeah.
so. I mean,
Yeah.
I still love the old film. I didn't step in a shower or go near any kind of drain for a week after watching the original
Oh,
It.
wow.
Like
Wow.
I'd like have a shower and stand as far away from the drain as I could, and just like, yeah, didn't want to go near any drains for, like when I saw the first one, because
That
you
makes
know
complete sense
the
to me.
the first, I mean, nobody fucking likes clowns, full stop. So
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
then and the putting him, making a really really scary clown is certainly one way to make a really scary film.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I even think that, I think that the remake, like, even though there's some, more effects and stuff, um, I still think it works. And I still think it's really good. And, I've read comments and things from Stephen, and he loved them. He loved them both. And I think that
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the adult characters especially were a lot better.
I have to confess, I only saw the first part, the first chapter, and I didn't get to see the
Yeah,
second.
you've got to see the second, because I think the
Okay.
second is better than the first.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's because I think that was because the original was squished into one film.
Right.
They didn't spend so much time on the characters and stuff like that. Whereas in the new ones, because it's split into two, you see the childlike world and you see the adult world, and it's a bit better explained, like how
Yeah.
how they, the children that left the town lose their memory and can't remember it and all
Yes.
that. Like,
Yes.
that's so very short in the original film, and in the remakes they delve into it, much more. So
In
you
depth.
kind
Yeah.
yeah, so you can kind of understand, like, and they're coming to terms with, like, the fact that how did they forget, and then things are coming back to them. Um, yeah, so I definitely say watch the second one. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah,
catch up. I
yeah,
was thinking about
um,
it these days because the way he, you know, just thinking about the way stuff happens in the book, um, it seems like a little overlooked to me. That is,
hmm
I think King is trying to make a big statement on it. Because if you really think about what he's talking about,
hmm
the very first murder that gets talked about in the book is this guy that gets thrown over the canal,
yeah,
apparently because he's gay.
yeah,
And then as the
yeah,
book progresses, you get to see people hurling rocks at the black
yeah,
kid,
hmm
and then you have this horrible wife beater character that's
hmm
hitting. I think
yeah,
her name's
and
Beverly. I can't
yeah,
remember the name.
and yeah, the girl, and there's also like this sort of subtle hint towards possible sexual abuse there between the
Very
father
much
and
so.
the,
Very
yeah.
much so.
So there's
And if you
a
think about the way it's done, it's he's making a powerful statement that is like this is the heart of what we have to face in
mm,
terms of internalized hatred and prejudice, and that's really the it that he's talking about in my eyes. That's the way I see
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, and like I agree with you, and I feel like um like the clown, it is just like, I guess, a symbol for that hatred, and a symbol
Yes,
for
very much so.
and it feeds off that fear
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and the
Yeah.
anger and the hate.
It's
Um,
easy for people just take it on the surface and go like it's a horror movie and that's it. But if you really look into it, just like Romero and just like Carpenter, there's more under the surface, and that's
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah. I think Stephen King, me personally, I think Stephen King has almost everything he's ever written has an amazing, strong subtext that's political or
yes,
that's something underneath it that's much more powerful than what you think you're
yeah,
watching. I mean,
yes,
one of my favorite films of all time is Shawshank Redemption, and
amazing,
the amount of people who don't know that the Shawshank
yeah,
Redemption is by Stephen
yeah,
King is
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, yeah,
Same goes with the Green Mile. Like people didn't know
amazing,
that was him. Um,
yeah.
and of course, Stand by Me. Lots of people didn't know that was Stephen King.
I
You
guess
know,
Stand by Me is probably my very favorite
oh,
adaptation from it.
such
It's
such
un
such a good
It's
film.
like reading the book. It's amazing. I love
Yeah,
it. The characters and
yeah,
just the photography.
yeah.
Beautiful movie.
That movie is probably the most on point in the old films that have been made. You can't remake that. If they remake it, like I'm gonna stage a coup. Like it
Yeah,
was just so good, you know.
so
Um,
perfect. Yeah, don't really
yeah,
need an update. It's just
yeah.
that's
It
it.
doesn't because it fits with the timeline that they're talking about, and so there's no reason to update it. Like because
No, it's perfection.
it was written for that time, and so
Yeah,
everything is, you know. I mean, you can't beat
yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland. You can't beat River Phoenix. Like all the characters were
River
just so great.
Phoenix, it's amazing in there. But
Yeah,
really, everybody, great cast.
yeah, and I've lost my memory, but the little skinny kid, you know, who went on to be on Star Trek,
Yeah, yeah.
and you know, and like all those, you know, things. It's like it's crazy. But so when I guess like when did you kind of go, um, you know, you've gone through your teens and you're like you know, just mesmerized by all this stuff. At what point did you say like, I want to make, you know, I want to make the music that that I hear in these films, and like and how did you go about like learning like to do that?
It's interesting. Really, like growing up, just watching the movies always made me want to, especially listening to soundtracks was really something that made a big impression on me. And then, after I realized Carpenter was scoring his own movie, and I was
Mm,
like, I didn't know you could do that.
mm-hmm.
Um, it sort of, because really for like a solid year when I was 14, after seeing Dawn of the Dead, I was like, I'm gonna be a film director somehow. So what I
Yeah.
did, I'm 14 and I'm like, I wrote this sort of trippy screenplay, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to like shoot this thing, and I tried to look for people that would help me out in my school, and so
Yeah.
a classmate of mine, Paolo, this guy is amazing. This guy is a genius. I asked him, I have this thing. Would you like to help me out? Because I knew he would play bass and do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he had this computer at home, and he had the first sequencer program that I'd ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And he had an amazing gear, and I just got to him and I was like, I would like to have this that would, we should make it sound like this. And he showed me how we would create things out of nowhere on his rig in
Yeah.
1997. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we're talking about something that's pretty ancient right now. But he had
Yeah.
this sequencing program, and that was fascinating to me. And after that, I picked up one for myself, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of funny because he had a proper rig, like a computer. I didn't have a computer at the time. I had a PlayStation, and they had a it was like they called it a game, but it was just like an actual piece of software where you could
Yes,
sequence
you could.
your own music, and it was
Yeah,
actually called music, this thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
this thing, I'm not sure if you've ever played anything like that. It's like you
I
can
have,
just
I have. I had a housemate many years ago that used to make music on it. So